So you've decided you want to start a homestead. Grow your own food, raise animals, live closer to the land, and step away from the chaos of the modern system. You've been scrolling through listings, 10 acres here, 20 acres there, beautiful trees, old barns, rolling hills. But here's the hard truth. Most people buy the wrong land. They get caught up in the dream and miss the small details that make or break whether that property will ever actually work as a homestead. So today, we're going to go over exactly what to look for when buying land for homesteading in 2025. What really matters, what's changed, and how to avoid the most common mistakes. 1. Water is everything. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Water decides everything. A beautiful piece of land without a reliable water source is a burden, not a blessing. In 2025, water rights and availability are more complicated than ever. Climate patterns are shifting, wells are drying up, and regulations around water use are tightening across much of the US. When you look at a property, ask yourself, does it already have a working well? What's the depth and recovery rate? Is there a spring, creek, or pond on site that runs year-round? Can I legally collect rainwater? If you're not sure, go to your county's water district site. They'll have maps showing groundwater depth, known dry zones, and water quality reports. And bring a simple water test kit with you when you tour land. A $20 kit can save you tens of thousands in future headaches. Because once you buy land without water, you're just camping permanently. 2. Soil quality and fertility. The second biggest mistake people make: buying land that won't grow anything. Good soil isn't just dirt, it's alive. It should have earthworms, organic matter, and drain well without staying soggy. Before you make an offer, test your soil. Soil test kits, which you can get from Amazon or your county extension office, can tell you the pH, nutrients, and contaminants. Red clay or sandy soil can still work, but you'll spend years building fertility. If you're growing vegetables or fruit trees, loamy soil with neutral pH and moderate organic content is ideal. And pay attention to what's already growing there. If you see healthy wild grasses, clover, and native trees, that's a great sign. 3. Topography and drainage. A perfectly flat piece of land sounds great until it rains. Then it becomes a swamp. On the flip side, a steep slope looks scenic, but you'll spend a fortune cutting driveways, terraces, and fighting erosion. The best homestead properties have gentle, rolling terrain with good natural drainage and a high point for your home site. That way you can use gravity for water flow, build without flooding risk, and create pasture zones below your main living area. Walk the land after a rain if possible. See where the water pools and where it drains. If you notice standing water, note it. You can fix it, but it'll take time and money. 4. Zoning, restrictions, and building codes. This one surprises most new homesteaders. You might own the land, but not the freedom to use it. Counties and municipalities have zoning codes that decide what you can and can't do, and they can vary wildly. You need to ask, can you have livestock or multiple structures? Can you build a cabin or tiny house legally? Are there restrictions on wells, septic systems, or off-grid power? Does the HOA or local government restrict building style or size? Before you fall in love with that property, call the county zoning office and ask them directly. They'll tell you if the land is agricultural, residential, mixed use, or something else entirely. 5. Access and roads. It doesn't matter how good the land is if you can't reach it easily or legally. Make sure the property has a recorded, deeded right of access, not just a handshake agreement with a neighbor. Also, look at road conditions year-round. Dirt roads that look fine in the summer may turn to mud traps in winter. You'll also want to know if your driveway will require regular grading or gravel delivery, which can be expensive in rural areas. Think long-term. How will delivery trucks, feed suppliers, or emergency vehicles reach you if the road washes out? 6. Power, utilities, and off-grid readiness. Utilities can make or break your budget. If power lines are nearby, get a quote from the utility company before buying. Sometimes just running power to your lot can cost tens of thousands of dollars. If you plan to go off-grid, check your solar exposure. How much sunlight does your site actually get through the seasons? Are there trees blocking your best solar angles? Also consider where you'd put a septic system or composting toilet, and what kind of backup heat source you'll use: propane, wood, or electric. And think redundancy. 2 ways to get water, 2 ways to cook, 2 ways to heat. That's resilience. 7. Climate and microclimates. Every property has its own weather, even 2 miles apart. Check the USDA hardiness zone map to see what grows best, but also pay attention to microclimates on the property. For example, south-facing slopes warm up earlier in spring, so they're great for gardens. North-facing slopes hold snow longer, great for livestock shade. Valleys tend to collect cold air, not exactly ideal for tender crops. You can even use a cheap temperature logger to test different spots before you buy. It's incredible how much it varies. Microclimates often determine where your garden thrives or fails. 8. Natural risks: floods, fire, and drought. The next factor: how likely are you to lose everything? Check FEMA flood maps to see if the land sits in a floodplain. Avoid low valleys near creeks unless there's proven elevation or levee protection. For fire risk, study the local vegetation. Dense brush or pine stands near structures are dangerous. You can build defensible space, but it's better if the land is naturally safe. Drought history also matters. Look for signs like dry stream beds, cracked soil, or stressed trees. They tell a story. It's not fear-based prep. It's practical survival thinking. 9. Neighbors and community. You must do an area study. Prepping and homesteading aren't just about isolation. They're about interdependence. Drive around the area and see what kind of neighbors you'll have. Are they fellow farmers and ranchers or drug addicts with violent criminal history? Friendly, like-minded neighbors can become allies when you need help, tools, or trade. Hostile or careless ones can make life miserable, especially if they don't respect property lines, livestock, or fire safety. And don't underestimate local culture. Some rural communities are welcoming. Others take time to warm up. Listen more than you talk in the beginning. It'll pay off later. 10. Cost and hidden expenses. Finally, cost. When you're buying land, the sticker price is only the start. Ask these questions before you buy. Will you need to bring in power, dig a well, or install septic? Is there fencing, or will you have to build it? What are the property taxes? Are there yearly road or maintenance fees? These hidden costs can double the real price of a property. If you find a cheap plot of land, run the numbers. Sometimes paying more upfront for a property with existing infrastructure is far cheaper in the long run. Bonus tip: start smaller than you think. Everyone dreams of 40 acres and freedom, but maintaining 40 acres is like having a full-time job, and then some. If this is your first homestead, start smaller, 5 to 10 acres. Enough to garden, raise animals, and learn without being overwhelmed. Remember, It's not about how much land you own. It's about how well you steward what you have. He who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. Let's look at two real-world examples. One member of the Practical Prepper Network, a family in Arkansas, bought 15 acres of what looked like paradise. Tall trees, a creek, and mountain views. But they didn't check flood maps. That creek swelled into a river every spring, cutting them off for weeks. They eventually sold at a loss. Another, a couple in Tennessee, pulled the trigger on a 6-acre tract of land that needed a bit of love to be functional. But they did their research, and it had a well, a small barn, good soil, and potential open exposure for solar. Within a year, they were selling produce, eggs, and meat locally. They didn't buy dreamland, they bought smart land. Finding the right homestead property isn't about luck. It's about knowing what to look for and doing your homework before you buy. In 2025, things are changing, from climate to cost to community. But the fundamentals stay the same. Water, soil, safety, and access, those are your foundation. Everything else can be fixed, but those 4 things must be right from the start. If you found this guide helpful, hit subscribe and share it with someone who's dreaming of getting into homesteading and out of the broken, fragile system. Until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and stay prepared.